What's the matter with me? I don't have much to say. Daylight sneaking through the window, and I'm still in this all-night cafe, walking to and fro beneath the moon, out to where the trucks are rolling slow, to sit on this bank of sand and watch the river flow. I wish I was back in the city, instead of this old bank of sand, with the sun beating down over the chimney tops and the one I love so close at hand. If I had wings and I could fly, I know where I would go. But right now I'll just sit here so contentedly and watch the river flow.
Contentedly.
So it's a great. I love this song.
Me too. Me too.
But it is odd when you start digging.
Well, I'm glad you chose to start from the beginning, because I think it's a really important bit. Because it's so.
It's a great first line.
It's a great first line and very un-Bob Dylan in a way. And I think that's what this song speaks to me. It's the opposite of everything Bob's ever done. It's like, what's the matter with me? I don't have much to say. It's kind of like, everything's okay. I don't want to be a superstar right now. I'm happy with my family. But also, it could be writer's block. It's like, what's the matter with me? I don't have much to say right now. And I'm so not used to that.
There's a number. Let's. Recorded at independent Blue Rock Studios.
Bob Dylan is a recording artist.
Yes. Original name Robert Zimmerman. Not a lot of people know that. So, but I learned a number of little factoids.
Yeah.
You know, I once used the word factoid. I think back in the day when I was on, I think it was Facebook or LinkedIn or something, which I'm not on now. And somebody said, "There's no such word as factoid. You can't use that. It's not a word." Social media, huh?
Hey man.
So I'm going to use the word factoid. Here's a few factoids. So it was recorded at Blue Rock Studios in Greenwich Village in March 1971, which was, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Patreon patrons, that it was the first time he'd not worked at a Columbia recording studio. So that's
a good
pretty
fact.
interesting.
Yeah.
And he set up shop there with Leon Russell, and they worked on When I Paint My Masterpiece, which was a very strong idea that Bob had, whereas this was kind of more of a vague idea, and apparently he worked on the lyrics while they were in the studio.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Over the last few episodes we've done, there's been loads of stuff of Bob spending sort of 4 hours just in the studio finishing off lyrics, which I think is really interesting.
But apparently this time, like unlike Blonde on Blonde, he did it really quickly.
Yeah.
I think it was it Jim Keltner? I've got written down, but somebody was quoted as, I think it was Jim Keltner who said, yes, they were just like, he said, I don't really, it basically came out of a jam they did in the studio. And what a great jam, because the music is fabulous.
Brilliant.
And he just said, I'll just write some lyrics now.
Yeah.
And which I think is really interesting. What's the matter with me? I don't have much to say.
Yeah.
What the fuck what is this song about?
Yeah.
And it also accounts for the look, book, and shook rhyme, which is pretty simple. But I think it's great. But it's very simple. It's not.
It's brilliant.
It's not Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands.
But again, it's his delivery that makes it in a way that is really shook.
I know.
It's kind of punk rock, this song, in a weird way. His delivery is really brilliant and strong and not holding back at all.
And you know, the reason I think we both love it is it's fun. It's such fun. And also the outrageousness of opening Greatest Hits Volume 2 with a song that has never been released, let alone been a hit.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And but it's just, I think that's why I have a great affection for the opening song of every Dylan album. But this one in particular, because it's just so much fun. And you don't generally look to Dylan for fun.
Yeah. And it's a Dylan we haven't got. Obviously, we've had Nashville Skyline, so we have had it. But this peaceful Bob, he says, even if I had wings and I could fly, I know where I would go. I'd just sit on this bank of sand and watch the river flow. It's a very meditative. you know, I think one of our first ever, it was in one of our Pioneer episodes no, it wasn't. It was the first ever episode we did Time Passes Slowly.
Yeah.
I thought that song initially was kind of about that time passes slowly when you're lost in a dream, sitting here watching the river. And then we realized actually the fishes are dead in the water. And
get me out of here.
Yeah, get me out of here. I need to go. And he does the same in this song, but he's like, wish I was back in the city. So I think for me, this song's a bigger sort of metaphor about Bob going away after 66 and then coming back. It's kind of like this peaceful, contented life. It's fine for a while, but then I wish I was back in the city.
Well, I think he was trying something. He was walking out over a cliff, really, in that he got rid of Bob Johnston, who he'd had enormous success with as a producer, and apparently he got rid of him before the new morning sessions, because that was pretty much produced by Al Cooper, who didn't get a producer's credit.
Yeah.
But now he was in the studio with Leon Russell, who he didn't know all that well, although they musically worked together terrifically well. But somebody pointed out that Leon Russell, of course, didn't produce any albums for Bob. So I think he was metamorphosing into, yet another Bob.
Yeah.
Also his, the marriage thing was getting kind of old. And having a bunch of kids who call me Pa, that must be what it's all about, from New Morning. That was, I think, maybe not what it was all about.
Yeah.
That he was going to sit out on a bank of sand and watch the river flow.
Yeah.
And see what happened next, see what words came to him next.
Yeah. But it's interesting, isn't it, that this is released in 71 with that greatest hits volume. But then he doesn't, I suppose, I don't count Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid as an album, even though it's a film score to me with Knocking on Heaven's Door, great song on it. But it's not till 74 that there's another full Dylan album again. So it's, I do think there's part of it. I don't think he's troubled by it, but I do think there's a part of it that's kind of writer's block. It's like, what's the matter with me? I don't have much to say right now. And so in
it also could be sort of not just on the what's the matter with me. Like, people might think, what's the matter with him?
Exactly. Well, I just don't have much to say. Yeah. I'm not playing your game anymore. I'm not. I don't need to rush around trying to keep up with what's happening in the scene and this anymore.
Well, I mean, he had already given up on the scene, but he'd sort of tried to create his own scene, which was the country rock scene, or the Nashville scene. And maybe he realized, oh God, I've created another scene. Yeah. I'm always creating these scenes. Yeah. How do I not create a scene?
Maybe that's Bob Dylan's curse. Everything I do has got to be a fucking scene because everyone copies me.
It's true. It's like that Life of Brian, Yeah. And literally, don't follow leaders. Yeah. Don't follow leaders.
Yeah. Which leader should we not follow, Lord?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting that we're going to do Shelter from the Storm next, because I do think there's a similarity for me between this and Shelter from the Storm, in that I'll get more into it in the second part when we cover Shelter, but the chord progression in Shelter is the only thing that it never changes, and it's a constant. And it's, to me, in a way, it's what he goes back to in the song to find a sense of comfort. And for me, it's in this song, it's the river. The river's a symbol of peaceful continuity. He can always come back to this bank of sand and watch the river flow if he needs to.
Yeah, what do you make of the bank of sand?
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking the other day that, because I was thinking, what is, every grain of sand? No, not really. But I thought maybe it's just like the earth. The earth is a big bank of sand.
Bank of sand, yeah,
I'm just going to sit here on the earth and watch the river flow.
It's also a very Taoist concept of it. Like Lao Tzu was said, if he could mold his teachings into one phrase, it would be like water, be like a flowing river. Water finds its way around anything. It doesn't have to change. It shifts and it merges and it never stops flowing.
You know what? That reminds me of, I made a special playlist when I was on tour with Scarlett Rivera, and Knob Stoner. Sorry, I meant to say Rob Stoner.
Knob Moaner.
Knob Moaner. And there's this group that I heard in the Barbers, and I can't remember what they're called now, but they did a song that was called something like "Be Like Water," and it's it's an instrumental. It's a very jangly sort of modern pop tune, and then about halfway through, this guy starts saying with a Chinese accent, be like water, water fill a cup, water, just exactly what you said. And I put that on my my playlist because I needed to be like water and let everything flow over me. Yeah.
It's such a good little metaphor for how to, just be in the middle path of life, not anyway.
Yeah. I've got a few more theories.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my this all-night cafe. Insomnia again. I'm finding all these possible clues to, maybe insomnia is the wrong way of looking at it, because I think maybe Bob is just too Bob to sleep.
Exactly. It's kind of Blind Boy-esque, isn't it? I just don't like sleeping. He's just like, I've got too many things to get interested about. And I kind of think that's the way, this creative mind that doesn't really shut the fuck up, probably.
Yeah. And I think, in a way, life to him is like an all-night cafe, because it's quite a good Dylan-esque leap, because it's not that Dylan-esque a song really. It's pretty simple, but daylight sneaking through the window and I'm still in this all-night cafe is a great bit of it's like reminds me of Jacques Levy or the Desire stuff.
Yeah.
It tells a really good story about being in this all-night cafe and daylight sneaking through the window, and now there's trucks outside. He can see the trucks rolling slow, and I don't know why it's because it's so easy. I feel slightly guilty about the song in a way. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you settle down and we're both kind of workaholics, and that feeds into being a Bob Dylan fan because it's work, but we love work.
We love it, and we'll never complete our Bob Dylan. Work. You'll never figure even one song. I won't ever fully figure out.
If we ever get through all the songs, right, all 600 and whatever there are, we'll just have to start again.
Yeah,
and we'll be different people. So
yeah. It's interesting that sort of sense of the all-night cafe. He's still very carefree, despite the sun coming out. A lot of people you would think, oh, he's been out all night partying and he's coming home bleary. He's not. He's like, well, I'll walk home while the trucks are starting, and I'll go and sit on this bank of sand. It's still nowhere to be, no rush. Nothing.
Well, apparently he loves walking around streets that are dead.
Yeah.
But he loves walking after a show. You'll find him with his hoodie up.
Yeah.
Walking through streets in the middle
There's
of the
clips
night.
of people kind of going, is that Bob Dylan? And it's always him and two security guards and him with his hood up sort of thing. Sorry, microphone.
Yeah. And then there's here's a few other thoughts. Again, possibly his creativity that when he talks about the one I love so close at hand. Because that pops up in a lot of songs about just being close to his muse. And I get the feeling that, apparently he just did write this quite quickly, and he's even though he didn't have much to say, he did have a lot to say about creativity, because I think that in a way the whole song is about watching the river flow and letting your creativity flow.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? We've come on it a lot of these things that seemingly on the surface are romantic, but could be him talking to the greatest romance he's ever had, which is the muse, whatever gift, whatever thing is whispering in his ear.
Yeah.
But if you don't, just for a second, if you don't take it as that, it sort of reminds me of the To Be Alone With You, Bob. It's like the one I love so close at hand. He's going to go home after he's had a watch of the river and kind of settled his mind, and his love's going to be there, and he'll be alone with you, and it'll be fine again.
Oh, that's lovely and romantic, Dan.
Yeah,
that's great.
Right. There's just something about, for a second, going, what if Bob is totally, in this moment, present and happy? And I don't think that's what the song's about, actually. But there's something joyful about that for me.
Yeah, and I think there is something joyful about the song. Like, I used to think it was quite an entirely joyous song before I thought about it. And there's certain things, there's bits of discontent in it. If I had wings and I could fly, it could be that he is thinking of. It really does remind me, though. My original thought was that it was about meditation. Because I know from the meditating that I've done, and I know you've done a lot more, that I would often think, if I had wings and I could fly, I would not be doing this because it's so uncomfortable. And I'm wondering if that's he doesn't strike me as a meditative person. He strikes me as a person who thinks,
a thinker
deeply.
And a mover, and that's
and a
sort
mover.
of anathema to meditation in many ways, isn't it? Meditation is kind of about being still in whatever's happening, not clinging, not being averse to anything. Whereas I think Bob is always going towards something, trying to discover something. He's got to be moving.
So even when he's watching the river flow, he's thinking about writing a song about it.
Yeah. It's also interesting to me because I part of me thinks that it's a real sort of, not a fuck you to the music industry, but I'm just done with all the demands and bullshit you've put on me a little bit. It's interesting with that in mind that it's sort of a song from a different time period. There's boogie woogie piano. It's a rhythm and blues song, really, which kind of in 1971 wasn't, disco was coming in and hard rock was coming in. It's totally anathema to that.
Country rock was coming in courtesy of Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
So no, this is again something just. I remember the first time I heard it was when I first listened to Greatest Hits Volume 2.
Yeah,
and it's impossible not to just love it.
It's fun, and it sort of feels to me like Dylan reclaiming what people have tried to, the music industry, or the industry for lack of a better word, has tried to take from it. I think this was, he originally got into music because of rhythm and blues music, rock and roll artists, Little Richard, all these things. So it kind of feels like a reclamation to me.
Yeah.
Which is maybe why it seems on the surface to be a very joyous song.
Yeah, of course he could have stayed like all these Bob Dylan phases. He could have stayed there for, years. He could have stayed there for the rest of his career and become that rhythm and blues guy, that Bob Dylan guy who did all that early weird shit. But, now he's like Jimmy Buffett or any, you can always rely on Bob for good white rhythm and blues sort of vibe. But, it only lasted for like really 2 or 3 songs. And then, boom, he was on to the next one.
It's sort of like, I think Nish made this point, though. He's sort of always been trying to get to this stage that he sort of is now, which is like an old rhythm and blues man in a way, an old touring blues guy.
Yeah,
I feel like that's really who he is as a musician, and everything else is kind of just his own individual brilliance that's been brought to it.
No, he always was. Even when he was a kid, that's the weird thing. It's like he's the reincarnation of an old blues guy.
I was going to say Paul Revere's horse, but sorry.
Nice. You should have.
The town has no need to be nervous.
But speaking of old blues guy, there's the updated lyrics. So he, it was, why cover this particular song, which is like a kind of a lost gem, but not generally, I think, regarded as one of his great early songs. No. But so he covered it on Shadow Kingdom. Mm-hmm. And I think there are other lyrics that he rewrote, but these are my favorite. Wish I was back in the city, in my true love's arms. She likes older men. They can't resist her charms. Which I think is just great. It's funny. I think it might be about his creativity, but it also might not.
Yeah.
So he sings it in quite particularly dirty ways.
Yeah.
But it was lovely that he did revisit it, because it shows that he respects and loves the song.
Yeah, I mean, it's been one of during the whole Rough and Rowdy Ways, 4 or 5 years of the same set list pretty much.
Yeah.
Watching the River Flow was consistently in there, and one of the only of the few songs that were sort of Rough and Rowdy Ways. So yeah, it clearly means a lot to him. And you're right. I think the whole thing could be a metaphor for his creativity or him as an artist. It's like, what is he doing in this song? He's watching the river flow. So he's observing. He's in the present moment. And art, I guess, is about attention. It's about being observant to the flow of life and drawing from it. I think art's born in attention to to seemingly mundane things, but often artists look a little bit deeper, and that's what poets often do, isn't it? They find beauty in the mundane, and he's not. Although he's sitting by this bank of sand and watching the river flow, he's not passive in this song. It doesn't feel like that. I don't think Bob Dylan could ever be passive. There's too much going on inside him. You know, it goes from watching the river flow to wish I was back in the city.
But at the end, he does. It's not that he's being passive, but I think he settles down. Like, as we know from meditation, it takes a long time to sort of settle the mind
to quieten.
And the end of the song is really quite comparatively quiet. This old river keeps on rolling, though, no matter what gets in the way and which way the wind does blow. And as long as it does, I'll just sit here and watch the river flow. And then he goes on, watch the river flow. Watching the river flow, watching the river flow. But I'll sit on this bank of sand and watch the river flow, which is a very unusual ending for a Bob Dylan song.
Not very Bob, is it?
No, it doesn't have like a button, and it doesn't have a big sort of, in your face punchline sort of. Just reading that, it's really simply watching the river flow. There's no other message.
Yeah, and it's interesting because a lot of the Buddhist texts, they repeat stuff all the time because it's trying to get it into your system. They repeat the same thing in slightly different ways over and over again. So that last thing could be like a Buddhist text in a way.
Yeah.
I do want to. I'm not sure. I don't think it is about writer's block, but there are a few things in here that just do feel like writer's block to me. And the fact that one of the other songs on original songs that was released on this volume was When I Paint My Masterpiece, which is sort of a really beautiful way of describing writer's block in a way. It's going to be fine because one day I'm going to create this masterpiece. I can't create it now, but when I do, God, you'll all be. So it's interesting that there's similarities between the two original songs that he's released for this record, I think. Do you agree that When I Paint My Masterpiece has that element to it?
When I Paint My Masterpiece is a much more complex song, full of really amazing imagery and amazing lines that I think he worked on for a long time. So I think I think actually the two are quite opposite.
Okay.
Really. I feel like When I Paint My Masterpiece is kind of like a mini masterpiece. There's just so many lines in it that jump out and speak to you and are quite famous Bob Dylan lines. Whereas Watching the River Flow, it's basically just watching the river flow. It's maybe it's not a jewel of a song. It's just it's fun and it's smart, but it's not particularly complex. So
it feels like a little treat for Bob Dylan fans, this one, doesn't it? It feels like Bob with, absolutely belting out this song, this little good but not great song, as you say. And I mean, at some point it could be so many things. It could be, I don't want to write political songs or any of that shit you want me to write anymore. I just want to sit here and watch the river. I want to sit here and observe and write what I want by observing just life as it is, not, being your mouthpiece.
I wish there were more Bob Dylan songs like this, actually.
So you didn't see yourself as Robert Zimmerman?
For some reason I never did.
Even before you started performing?
No. Even then, some people get born to the wrong names,
What would be an example to you of a correct name?
For me?
For anything.
Well, let me see now. That podcast thing, Bob Dylan, approximately, it's a good name.
Oh? Why?
Well, it's right on target. So direct.
I see. Do you listen to it?
No, Ed. It's not my destiny.
Then how do you know about it?
A friend of mine might have mentioned it, might have said she subscribed to the damn thing.
Well, I understand podcast subscriptions are important, as are ratings and reviews. By speaking out like this,
No, hold up there, Ed. I'm not a spokesman for anything.
Suddenly, I turned around and she was standing there, with silver bracelets on her wrists and flowers in her hair. She walked up to me so gracefully and took my crown of thorns. "Come in," she said. "I'll give you shelter from the storm."
Is that your sort of whole Jesus thing coming?
I think so.
When you said crown, I could see those little crown, that little crown of thorns. Dan.
Well, it's hard not to, because we know the song so well, to go, "Come in," she said, "I'll give you shelter from the storm."
Yeah,
But actually...
No, it's really good to mess around with the word. That's why I love doing these things in a kind of a interesting and sometimes oddball way.
Yeah.
Because you hear the words more clearly.
Yeah, and you couldn't do it with many other songwriters. That's the thing. That's how great he is. So I just love this. Let's start at the beginning, shall we? "'Twas in another lifetime." So
one of the 'Twas songs.
'Twas, yeah. It's like we're thrown back into the past, and it's another song, and we've mentioned this many times over the podcast about folk songs that he covers and stuff that he brings into his songs. This old folk tradition of some sort of ethereal woman being the savior that you come in from the storm or the river or whatever. I always use Lakes of Pontchartrain as a perfect example, a song that he covered for years live. To me, it's that 'twas in another lifetime. It's like, okay, we're back in the folk tradition in a way, from Bob, sort of maiden by a lake type stuff.
But it wasn't just, it goes on, one of toil and blood.
Yeah.
When blackness was a virtue.
Yeah. The road was full of mud.
Yeah.
I mean,
blackness was a virtue is always, there's so many. Really? That was a virtue?
Well, it's like the up is down and down is up. It's the, the sun not rising in Macbeth. It's these brilliant things you see throughout literature, but it's easy to overlook. I just want to say this at the start. It's easy to overlook how fucking amazing this album and the songs on it are. I mean, it's held up there,
we've
isn't it?
only just, I think we've only, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've only done one Blood on the Tracks song.
We did Lily Rosemary and the Jack Hearts.
That's right, which in a way isn't a Blood on the Tracks.
It's sort of
it's
sort
the
of
outlier.
Yeah, it's sort of the exception that
I think
proves
that's
the
why
rule,
we
isn't it?
chose it, because it wasn't one of the super heavy duty, marriage breakdown.
I
Dark
think
Night
in
of
a
the Soul
way,
songs.
looking into this song, there's a reason. It's quite hard to make notes on this song because there's so much there. There's almost too much there in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone accepts, Blood on the Tracks, great album. But just at a first glance, in the first verse, so he starts as a detached third-person narrator. That's not easy to do. So 'twas in another lifetime, one of toil and blood. So it's in the past. So he's already dealing with tense in song form. Then the blackness, mud, as you putting those two sort of things as an antithesis. Then the rhythmic execution of the lines I've put. So it messes about slightly, but it's generally 7 beats and then 6 beats. So 'twas in another lifetime, one of toil and blood. That's 5, but it's around that sort of thing. So he then introduces speech from another character. "Come in," she said, "I'll give you shelter from the storm." And even then it's 7 beats and 5 beats. The amount of stuff he's doing just within the first verse that's really hard to do as a songwriter is kind of hard to overstate. And it's almost like a textbook version of, well, this is how good Bob Dylan is. He can do all these really difficult things in one verse, and then he'll keep doing it throughout the song.
And it's also a very quiet song. I mean, it's just him and Tony Brown, the bass player, who is a fabulous. He's a terrific.
It's brilliant.
It's so subtle. Unlike certain bass players can be kind of heavy-handed. By the way, I looked him up. He just died last year, Tony Brown. He went on playing with other bands, gigging and being in bands. But he's a real unsung hero of certainly of this song.
Yeah.
And the reason I mentioned how quiet it was is because this is right after the 1974 tour with the band, with the arenas and the money and the drugs and the temptations and just the madness. And this is just almost like a whispery song.
Yeah.
And as And it's only 3 chords, right? It's just
3 chords.
and it's just
that
it's
repeat
so,
for the whole thing.
So simple, but so beautiful. Like there's something, I don't know how he does that. You the guitar player, like the strumming sounds.
Yeah, well,
so
the
lovely.
whole album is in open D tuning, which is D, for anyone interested, D A D F sharp A D. So that if you ring it open, it's an open D chord. So the whole album, for some reason, he just went, "Oh, I'm going to do that."
And you sort of you use your hand sort of like in an open way, do you?
Yeah,
Just
well,
sort of-
that was just if you strum the open
but
chord.
that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
'Cause it does sound very open when you
sounds sort of airy, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Is a good way of putting it. Yeah. Yeah, it's just so I just want to get because I
So
feel
you've
like
got the lyrics there. What do you?
But what I feel like I didn't explain the
Right.
the 5 beats and 7 beats. So so he's doing this throughout the. So 'twas in another lifetime, one of toil and blood, when blackness was a virtue, the road was full of mud. He carries that on throughout the song.
You should have sung it like that.
I know, exactly.
It'd be a big number 1 hit.
Number 1. There we go. But yeah, but then we go out of sequence. It's like we've bypassed the story. So the second verse is, "And if I pass this way again." Well, that in any story form, that's sort of the epilogue bit, isn't it?
Yes.
After all the lessons of the story have been there. So, and you know what? And if I pass this way again, I'll go back to that store and I'll say hello to that person. You know,
The handy dandy.
He goes, you know, and I'm going to put that in. So this, the end of the story is at the second verse because I fucking say it is.
Well, you know, we have to bring up Norman Rayburn because he was name checked by Bob around this time, and so Norman Rayburn was his painting teacher, and he kind of in a weird way credited him with the end of his marriage because he said, once I started studying with Norman Rayburn painting, my wife never understood me again.
Right.
And part of, I think, what Rayburn was getting at was that disconnect that you've just been talking about, that everything, you know, the different point of view. So like from the beginning, okay, now let's look at it from the end.
Yeah.
Now let's look at it from, the one thing that he doesn't look at it from in this is, of course, from she's point of view, the woman's point of view.
Yeah, yeah.
And the big question is, who is she?
She's kind of she's ethereal, isn't she? So there would be almost, and often we do charge Dylan with sexism, but I don't think it is in this song. I think it's just she represents something that is an archetype. It's almost like the mother. It's almost like a mother figure, isn't it? Come in, I'll protect you.
I think that's part. I mean, so it's difficult for me. It was difficult to not think of Sarah, just seeing her there with flowers in her hair.
Yeah.
But it could have been one of his girlfriends, or it could have been like the Virgin Mary or a holy woman, or the Muse, who's always a possibility. And
took my crown of thorns, Mary Magdalene.
Yeah,
it's that's sort of, well, that was it. No, that was Mary, wasn't it, that took the crown of thorns? But there's that.
Yeah, it could be any.
She washes his feet.
I think it does feel very biblical, but ultimately, what I found, I think somebody else said it somewhere, and I thought, oh, that's good, that it's not necessarily about marriage, because everybody said, ooh, it's about his marriage, but it's about the concept of grace. I read that somewhere, although they didn't define it, so I looked it up, and grace is defined as the unearned, freely given love, mercy, and favor of God. And so in Christianity, grace leads to salvation and spiritual growth, and that's why you say grace before a meal.
Yeah.
And I came back then I read it again thinking about that, and of course there's the line, if I could only turn back the clock to when God and her were born. So he's got God and her emerging sort of at the same time.
Yeah.
So that I did start thinking about it being the concept of some sort of grace. In other words, some sort of relief.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a relief from his suffering.
Sort of absolution in a way, isn't it?
Yes.
You're absolved of
Yes.
whatever's gone on out there. You're safe here in a way, and you're forgiven here.
And it's this is one of those songs that, I've spent much more time on this song for the last week or two than I ever have before. And it's been, as always, a weird trip because when you just listen to the song, come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm, always made me like breathe easier, just the thought of that.
Yeah.
But of course, it's not a very happy song.
No.
And ultimately, it's a memory of when she did that. And was it, I mean, one of the questions I threw up was it worth it? I think he's actually possibly thinking, like, was it really worth it? The hell that I'm going through now, and will probably go through for the rest of my life.
That's a really good point. Yeah. How much does he regret
coming in
at all? Yeah. Well, a bargain for salvation should give me a lethal dose. Like a lethal dose of salvation is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's very. I mean, that's one of those words that kind of knock you back.
It's almost like this is a big statement, but that she killed the actual Bob Dylan in a way. She changed me. I was taken to Woodstock and I became this family man. So she killed the kid that came to New York and saw bright lights only looking for me. And I was grateful for her at the time, but actually now I'm left, who the fuck am I? And where does he go afterwards? Religion.
Yeah.
Where do people often go to find religion? When they're lost.
Yeah. Yeah, a lethal dose of salvation. That'll do it to you.
That'll do it.
Yeah. And then there's the Hard Rain version, which I was listening to as many versions as I could find. And of course the Hard Rain version is the same song, the same lyrics, and so easily sort of like turned inside out. And continuing on from the theme that we just started, he sounds like he's been fooled into something, and he's been a fool.
And he's pissed off about that.
Pissed off.
He doesn't like to be a fool, Bob Dylan.
No. And it's sort of like when he sings, try imagining a place where it's always safe and warm.
Yeah.
He doesn't sing it like that. But I think in a way that's the subtext.
Yeah.
It's this contempt. Like you said to me, you just try imagining a place where it's always safe and warm. Come in. Yeah. Come on in now.
And now who's your fucking lawyer? That Mitchelson
Marv
dickhead.
Michelson.
Yeah. It's I had a moment of, and it's something I should do with the entire album actually, but researching this song, I thought, well, it's so tied up, isn't it, Blood on the Tracks, as the big divorce album. We know what was going on in his personal life at that time, and that obviously is what the album's about, even though he said it wasn't, and was about, he said millions of different things that it is over the years. It's clearly about that. But if you take it at face value, let's strip away, say you didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
What is this song? And I don't really understand where we are, what's happening. After the first verse, anyway, the not a word was spoke between us verse feels like it could have been a brief affair. Try imagining a place where it's always safe and warm.
Interesting. You said if we didn't know. I didn't know the first time I heard this. I didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
I didn't have a clue. I was not a big... I tended to get most Bob Dylan albums, but I didn't... And this was back in the day, before the internet, and I didn't know that Bob Dylan was going through... In fact, he was separated, right? So the divorce album is really street legal, but the separation album, we now know, is Blood on the Tracks. But I didn't know that. And I just had my first big love affair sort of, go down in flames, and was living by myself and was feeling very sorry for myself. And this was the album that I played over and over and over again because I had a broken heart. And that's all I knew.
Yeah.
It was a song. This was a song like all the other songs about having a broken heart. And so it spoke to me. So I knew nothing. Yeah. And I didn't need to know anything else other than that, and that's why it's such a brilliant album and a brilliant song on the album.
And similarly, like, it was my heartbreak album as well after a breakup, but I did know what, because I'm a little nerd.
It was a lot later.
Yeah.
You had the internet.
Yeah, exactly. So I knew about it, but it didn't change what the album was to me. It didn't matter, and it never does, and that's why I'm glad Bob never tells us what his songs are about, because I don't want to know. It's my blood on the tracks.
Yes, exactly. It's so you couldn't have invented a better Bob Dylan sort of shtick than to not talk about your songs.
Yeah.
And he's the only one in the entire, including Springsteen and Jackson Browne, Joni Mitchell, Leonard Cohen, all his contemporaries. They will talk about their songs.
I think it's a big mistake as well, personally, because I think it then, oh, well, that's what the song's about. Oh, well, then I can't relate it to, or I have a more of a trouble relating to it.
That. Yeah.
I, you know, I can't create art like Leonard Cohen and Bob Dylan and Joni Mitchell, but if I could, I can't imagine I'd want it to go out into the world and this is what this song's about. Listen to it.
I mean, but these days as well, I mean, everybody, you know, publicists and journalists, everybody wants to know it.
Yeah.
So I think most people go, you know, just give the New York Times 15 minutes and, you know, tell them about your new song.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and here's something, if you haven't come across it, do you know the missing verse, the one that was in the first take?
No. Oh, I must have heard it.
You must have heard it.
I'm sure I've heard it.
It was released on
that
the soundtrack of Robin will know. It was a Tom Cruise starred in the movie, and it was
Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire.
Yes, I do know
so,
that.
Well, I've got it here,
yeah,
but let's listen. Like I don't know this particularly well. Let's. I'll just say it to you. And as a new, you know, this was between verses 5 and 6 in on the first take. Now the bonds are broken, but they can be retied by one more journey to the woods, the holes where spirits hide. It's a never-ending battle for a peace that's always torn. Come in, she said. I'll give you shelter from the storm. It's very complicated.
It's complicated, but to me, immediately, I'm like marriage bonds.
Yeah, now the bonds are broken.
Now the bonds are broken.
But they can be retied, and we do know that they were separated at the time. This is so weird, though. By one more journey to the woods. I don't know. Is that the woods of love? I don't know. This is such a bizarre line. The holes where spirits hide.
Yeah.
That's odd. And then it's a never-ending battle for a peace that's always torn. Just sounds to me like the Middle East.
Yeah, it does.
It's like that's. But maybe that's what his marriage was like at that point.
Well, it could also be, you know, men and women. There's never going to be a full understanding of each other. There's always, and that's kind of what's fun about it in a way. It would be, if we understood each other fully, there would be kind of no fun about it.
No grit, no pearl.
No grit, no pearl, exactly.
Yeah.
It's such a poetically beautiful song and so intricate and brilliant. And then it just annoys me. I don't know why, but he uses a non-eventful morn rather than an uneventful morn, apparently, which I always thought it was an uneventful morn.
I've got it down. I've got the Bob Dylan .com version. Which verse is that?
Well, I think it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 verse, which I believe on the Dylan site.
You know what he's got on the Dylan site? He's got
long forgotten.
He's got long forgotten morn, which he does not sing.
No, he doesn't. Of course he doesn't. He changes all the time.
Yes, it sounds like uneventful, doesn't it?
Yeah, but apparently it's a non-eventful morn.
But that's not a thing.
Well, exactly, but it's very Dylan that he would.
But why do you say that? Because you read somewhere? Because it doesn't sound like he sings. It sounds like he sings uneventful morn, but then again, it sounds like he sings morning dove.
Morning dove, yeah. I basically everything on the internet that was lyrics that were not BobDylan.com or this book, which both had long forgotten.
That's
morn.
the giant lyric book.
Yeah,
holding up for people who are just listening.
Yeah,
and not seeing.
Don't get it. He's fucked everything in here, and it just annoys me.
And what about futile or feudal? Like
feudal,
as long as we're being nitpicky.
Oh, yeah.
Because of course, in England they would say futile, and it would not be a problem.
Yeah.
But in America they say futile.
Yeah,
futile.
Feudal.
Or feudal, depending on, or in the Hard Rain version, he just goes feudal.
Feudal.
You know, it's clearly FEUDAL.
And he likes feudal lords, doesn't he? That
yes,
came
he likes
later
everything
on.
feudal.
Yeah. So it could be.
And I love actually, feudal horn sounds like really tough. Well, it sounds very tough, but it also like in America, I don't think they use the term horn for hard-on, do they? Or do they?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I've got the horn. Is that
I've got
American?
the horn. Is that American? I don't know. But a futile horn would be a useless hard-on.
That's true.
So that's something when I was contemplating all this. I think I haven't read that online. I made that up all by myself.
Kerry made that up.
Yeah, I made that up. And they've also got a one-eyed.
Yeah, one-eyed undertaker.
Yeah. A one-eyed undertaker. So the one-eyed, I'm like a one-eyed cat peeping at a seafood store to...
It's always safe and warm as well. Could be part of the female anatomy if we're going there, you know.
Yep. You know, we haven't said anything particularly dirty in the last couple of podcasts.
We haven't. It was we were due that. We were due that.
It wasn't a futile gesture.
It wasn't a futile gesture. But that non-eventful morn, I just thought because you came up with that Dylan giving us a Zen slap. It could be a Zen slap from Dylan because it's perfect, like poetically brilliant, structurally perfect, and then just throws in non-eventful morn to be like, oh, what was that? Because that's what it does to me.
It's a weird series of words, non-eventful morn. It's also difficult to say. And yeah, you're right. It is like it could be one of his Zen slaps.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got some more lines for you. And did you come across this? The original opening lines, which are from his handwritten first draft. Like it's in, I guess maybe it's in the Bob Dylan Center. See what you make of these. I was bushwhacked on the prairie. I'm not kidding. I was bushwhacked on the prairie, rolled on New Year's Eve, poisoned in the orchard, buried in the leaves. Wow.
Wow. Thank God he kept working on it.
Bushwhacked on the prairie, rolled on New Year's Eve, poisoned in the orchard, buried in the leaves. I know it's comic, isn't it? Is that my imagination?
Yeah.
But it seems weirdly funny.
Yeah, I often find that with Dylan's reworked lyrics live. Often, sometimes, like you said, I think it was about Not to Be Alone With You, what we just did, watching the river flow.
Yeah.
There's comic elements to the way he reworks things, so it's interesting that before he got to this perfect thing, it was kind of funny too.
But I'm wondering if... I just think it's not very good. Like, I don't think he was trying to be funny.
No.
I mean, it's... You know, I was bushwhacked on the prairie is quite a good phrase. Maybe not to start your song with about grace and a very serious song about heartbreak.
None of us know how Dylan works, but it could be that it's just he's got this shell of an idea and he has to get everything out as quickly as possible and then goes back and reworks it. So maybe that could be the bones of he's just like, I'm out in the wilderness, bushwhacked on the prairies. It could be anything like that. Just images or symbols that go, okay, I know what I'm saying here and I know what I want to get to.
That's good, because I was thinking I was going to bring up hunted like a crocodile ravaged in the corn, which I've always loved and been completely mystified by. But it's not unlike bushwhacked on the prairie, or ravaged in the corn prairies, bushwhacked, ravaged. I don't know, but hunted like a crocodile, like I thought about because crocodiles, we think of crocodiles as predators. So you don't get hunted like a crocodile.
No. I think rhinos sometimes hunt crocodiles, usually out of defense, though. I think usually
if you think of a crocodile, you think of
you think of
predator.
apex predator, don't you?
Yeah. And ravaged in the corn, because the corn is a symbol of harvest and plenty and
life
and bountifulness. But being ravaged in the corn. He's taking... They're both quite weird, turning things inside out. It's basically that. He's getting in
he does that
dose of that.
Yeah, he does that a lot during the song. Like, this is the most mystifying verse to me. It's the penultimate one. Well, the deputy walks on hard nails and the preacher rides a mount. He's doing that with that. He's taking, the juxtaposition between the two. The preacher should be walking on hard nails and the deputy should be on horseback. Yeah. It's kind of the absolute opposite. It's like a signal that the world is backwards. Nothing's working as I wanted it to or thought it should be.
So hard nails. So I've only just seen that now. First time I've sort of seen it like walking on nails, like an Indian fakir.
Like an ascetic almost. Yeah. It's like self-flagellation to reach some sort of enlightenment almost.
Yeah.
And the preacher rides him out, which is what the deputy should be doing, mounted on horseback.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very negative Bob, as you get a lot through this album, understandably, but a lot of the imagery, newborn babies wailing, old men without teeth stranded without love. It's doom alone that counts. There's a nihilism to this song.
There is, and I think, there's ultimately a total loneliness that I guess nihilism. That's what nihilism is. Like, you don't believe in anything, and you realize that you're completely alone. Where you thought you had shelter.
That's the thing.
and you're back out in the rain.
Yeah.
And he
Yes.
is. I mean, it's so lonely. And I think Beauty Walks a Razor's Edge, Someday I'll Make It Mine is like possibly his only consolation for his loneliness, because he does, even though he's been through marriages and he's been through religion and he's been through the rest of his life, since this time, there's been like 50 years, I guess, since he, but the loneliness seems like a pretty constant with Dylan, not in every song, but it's behind the majority of the songs.
It feels like, to me, like he's talking about this one person that he felt understood him, and maybe for a bit he wasn't alone, and it turns out actually she didn't and she doesn't, and he's furious at himself because he believes she did, in a way. That's how it feels to me. It's like, I thought there was this one person who finally understood me in a world of people who are telling me I'm the voice of a generation and I'm this and I'm this, so I know what I am, and you did too, I thought, but turns out no, you don't.
No, the going back to the Hard Rain version, it was described in Rolling Stone. So this is when he, turned it into this same lyrics. But it was described as a roaring rock and roll juggernaut, a sneering denunciation of a hypocritical lover whose offer of a warm, safe haven is dismissed as a cynical joke.
Oof.
That's pretty hard on she. Whoever she is, all she said was, I'll give you shelter from the storm.
Yeah.
And, that's how, it doesn't matter whether it's his marriage or whatever. It's not a bad, cynical thing to say, unless she was an evil temptress and a liar and a bitch from hell, which he seems to be saying on Hard Rain. And his wife was on tour with him at the time.
I know. It's a very odd one, isn't it? I have a theory, and it's almost certainly not true, but the lyrics go everywhere. They're all over the place. Time changes, all that stuff. But there's a repeated, simple three-chord, as you said, three-chord sequence over it. And this is my idealistic version, but perhaps the music is a symbol that there is a peace, a shelter, a comfort within us, and ever present at all time, even when the external world is seemingly chaotic. It's weird that it's this really sort of almost angelic, bright, as you say, bright, airy chord sequence that rolls underneath this incredibly dense, poetic lyrics.
Yeah, no, we shouldn't forget that. Like, I wouldn't want anybody who doesn't know the song, clearly you do, but I wouldn't want people to think that the Hard Rain version was the definitive version, because the definitive version, I think, is this album version. And as you say, there's no anger in the way he sings it.
No.
There's no self-pity in the way he sings it. There's no accusation in the way he sings it originally. And it's a Bob that I prefer to do business with. Like, that Bob is very sort of, he's amazingly open-hearted. He's almost like Christ-like in a way that he seems very forgiving of himself and of her in the song. And that's, I think, why you can actually listen to it over and over again and not, be repulsed. Whereas the Hard Rain version is sort of like, there's something kind of fascinating about angry, furious Bob.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't return to that version.
No, he's almost like an open wound in this song, isn't he? Not in a bad way that he's like, that he's taking his pain out on the world, but it's just like, this is what's happened. And yeah, you feel that forgiveness because I'm hurt, other people are hurting, all that sort of stuff. And for anyone who hasn't listened to the song, I can't believe it, but it's worth it just for the outro harmonica, because my God, the harmonica at the end of this song is beautiful and unapologetic. And throughout this album, he's unapologetic with his harmonica playing. And I love that. It really, say if you were going to have Scarlett on very soon, in fact, it may have come out before this one goes out.
Scarlett Revere.
To
name checker.
Yeah, to name check. But if the violin in Desire is a narrative voice of its own, then the harmonica in Blood on the Tracks is a narrative of its own, I think.
Yeah, and I think in a way he's going back to his home the harmonica is kind of his home.
And it's our home as fans as well, I feel. It's like,
Yes. I know. Every time he plays it in concert, everybody goes, yes.